Everybody, welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping a conference championship weekend. It was a crazy one, some crazy outcomes, and we're kind of here to talk about who's at fault, who's kind of guilty of these outcomes, and who's kind of to blame, and there's just some crazy stuff that happened. I think we're gonna have a good discussion in this one. How are you, Josh? How was your weekend watching these crazy games?
Yeah, sadly, I think we have another dynasty on our hands. It feels like we just got over the Tom Brady Patriots, and it looks like there's just a new dynasty, and it doesn't really matter, how poor the team is. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs seem to be a real dynasty. But yeah, some crazy games, some really interesting calls, some really bold coaching decisions, a lot to get into. But first, we just before we get into all this drama. Should we go over a little bit of recent hires and news that's been going on the last week?
Yeah, hit us with any news that we have.
Yeah, so a couple, hires we'll just go over because it's very relevant. Vic Fangio decides to leave the Miami Dolphins and join the Philadelphia Eagles. So he will take over defensive coordinator duties over in Philadelphia now.
And this is
Another
significant.
one,
This is significant
yeah,
because the Eagles had Sean Desai at defensive coordinator, who was trying to run a Fangio system, and now they have Vic Fangio trying to run a Fangio system. So it should be a pretty seamless transition, and I think he will complement their kind of roster and their talent there, and I think it's going to be honestly a really improved defense. I do love that signing.
Yeah, I mean, what better thing if you're trying to copy the Fangio defense? Why don't you just add Vic Fangio to it? So it makes all the sense. They'll look to reboost and react to their secondary this year, which was horrible, and Fangio should be definitely the right guy. Also, some more Eagles news. The Eagles poach offensive coordinator Kellen Moore from the Chargers. He takes over their offensive coordinator duties, which is going to be really interesting. I don't feel like Brian Johnson is really a bad coordinator. Obviously, Kellen Moore comes from the Dallas Cowboys, so he's very familiar with the Philadelphia Eagles in the same division for a long, long time. But yeah, very very interesting hire. What do you make of that one?
Yeah, the Brian Johnson scapegoating was always a scapegoating. That's what it was, and it's best that they do part ways. That it's best that that whole staff parts ways. And the Eagles are fumbling for not parting ways with Nick Sirianni, especially. He's the one that really deserves to be parted ways with. It just feels like an inevitable 1 year, one and done project this year, really. But yeah, Kellen Moore, like it is an interesting hire. It is really interesting to pair him with Jalen Hurts. I will say that that's the one thing that does kind of make me scratch my head. Like Kellen Moore's worked with Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Kellen Moore when he played football. I don't know if you remember him at Boise State, but he was a gunslinger quarterback, and he just isn't really like Jalen Hurts. So it will be kind of a interesting mesh. But I mean, he's a good offensive coordinator. You know that he will like kind of cater his offense to the Eagles' strengths. He's a really smart guy. He's gonna adapt and adjust, and the Eagles are gonna have to adjust like everything and change everything. So I am interested. It's not a bad signing at all.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe if he has a good season, he'll take over Nick Sirianni's job next year. We'll see. But yeah, very excited for the Eagles. Kellen Moore, has been looking for that head coaching job for a while. He doesn't land it this year. He's back to being a coordinator again. But should be pretty exciting. Another one that I was pretty excited about, and I know you were pretty excited about, was Falcons. Excuse me, hired pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach Zach Robinson, a former PFF employee, a very analytical guy. He's been kind of waiting to get that next step up, and it looks like he's going to follow Raheem Morris to Atlanta and ultimately take over the offensive coordinator roles. How do you like that one?
I they knocked this one out of the park. He was my number one offensive coordinator candidate. I think every single team that needed an offensive coordinator that didn't interview him really fumbled that because he is just a really just a good candidate, and for a team that's building around a new quarterback, the Falcons will be bringing in a new quarterback, and he gets to choose his quarterback. He's a young-minded, analytical thinking guy. He's gonna like mold the team around the quarterback, mold his offense around the quarterback in a smart way. He's gonna use Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. It'll be fun to watch. So I do really like Zach Robinson. You're getting a really bright young mind, and if you're hiring the next guy up in that McVay Shanahan tree, then you're doing something right.
Yes, 100% agree. It's very fun. He's a very forward-thinking, analytical guy who played the quarterback position. So should be pretty exciting. It'll be really exciting to see who Atlanta ultimately rolls out there in 2024 with at quarterback.
Will it be
So
Kirk?
that could be. I mean, at this, I mean, I thought, originally Bill Belichick was going to be the head coach of the Falcons. That ultimately doesn't happen. And so I'm kind of back on the Falcons getting Justin Fields. I really like that. I think Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson would be two great coaches for Fields. And I think I'd love to see him go back to his home state. I think that'd be super exciting.
Yeah, I think that Kirk is down to two teams. It's the Vikings or Falcons, and I think that the Falcons are down to two quarterbacks, and it's really Fields or Kirk. So that is interesting. I think they would both complement Zach Robinson's scheme well. He's going to adapt to whoever his quarterback is. So yeah, really like that one as well.
Yeah, and sorry, we're gonna keep going on because there's a lot of news. Brandon Staley was interviewing with the Packers, the Rams, and also who did I forget? Oh, the Dolphins for their defensive coordinator vacancies. What do you think Brandon Staley will do? And do you ultimately think he'll be a good defensive coordinator when he's just defensive coordinator, doesn't have the head coaching role?
Yeah, Brandon Staley's not a head coach. We've all learned that. He just doesn't have that respect me like alpha head coach mentality or just presence. He really doesn't exude that at all. So as a defensive coordinator, he can relate with the players. He's just a good mind. He'll adapt. I see him going back to the Rams. I think that is perfect. He was like a star defensive coordinator with the Rams, and he goes back with Aaron Donald and Sean McVay. So I do think he goes back to the Rams. That is a really, really good fit, and it would be a great hire. I think the Packers or Dolphins would also be a good hire as well, just because they're the same Fangio systems, and I think he's probably the best defensive coordinator candidate right now, other than Ejiro Evero, who the Panthers are kind of blocking teams from interviewing.
Yeah, I know Brandon Staley is going to get a lot of hate, especially from Charger fans. Brandon Staley is not a bad coach. He's a bad head coach, but he's not a bad coordinator. I think that he took on too much responsibility for, ultimately wanting to be in charge of the defense and be in charge of the whole team. Being a head coach and calling plays is very hard. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan. You have a few coaches that do it at an elite level, but very few. I mean, a lot of coaches understand that it's a lot to take on, and it's either you're calling plays or you're trying to think 10 things ahead at once for what side you're calling plays for, and then you got to be the game manager and so on and so on and so on. So I think honestly, wherever Brandon Staley goes, he'll honestly be a okay defensive coordinator. I think he'll be good. If he went back to the Rams, that would be damn near perfect, where he had the number one defense, which ultimately got him a head coaching job. But I think he will be a really good coordinator.
100%.
Yep, and then last of my news, because I got to get my Charger news out of the way. Chargers hired defensive coordinator or hiring defensive coordinator from Michigan, Jesse Minter, who's got a lot of familiarity with the Ravens scheme, Mike McDonald's kind of system. So that's exciting. Joe Ortiz, the Chargers are adding a general manager and poaching Ben Herbert, strength and conditioning coach from Michigan too. So maybe this Chargers curse of always being injured will end here with the new Harbaugh guys. So just exciting news that I got to have my 5 minutes of shine over here.
Yeah, quick takeaways on all those. For the strength and conditioning coach, the Chargers have been charging the last few years, mostly because of your strength and conditioning. That's really been why the Chargers' downfall has been happening recently. And you're hiring a Ravens GM, a Ravens guy in their front office, you're doing something right. If you have to throw a dart at a GM, you go to the Ravens instantly. So that's obviously a great hire as a Broncos fan. That's the one I didn't want the Chargers to get. And then yeah, I think Minter is probably going to be a Chargers defensive coordinator for a year or two, and he's going to be on that Mike Macdonald career arc and be a head coach sooner rather than later. He's that same young, bright mind. He's a smart guy. He has a good presence around him. So yeah, I love the staff that they're already building, and yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, super exciting news. A lot going on in the NFL, and yeah, let's get into recapping this week. I mean, it was a painful week. It was an exciting week, and now we got our Super Bowl outcome.
Crazy weekend. I'm excited to talk about it. Before we get into the recap, I do want to kind of shout out the Senior Bowl starts tomorrow. So stay tuned to our draft content. We have a lot of draft content rolling out here the next few months, really, and we're big draft guys. That's like why we made this podcast. We are really big into these prospects, and we're excited to stay tuned with the Senior Bowl too.
Yes, we will be giving you updates, and our next podcast is going to be super exciting. And as Dan was mentioned to me a little bit earlier, they have invited what was I think 30 underclassmen who are not seniors to partake in the Senior Bowl. So it's going to be probably the most stacked Senior Bowl we've ever seen. Period. I think it's going to be absolutely electric. And what I'm hearing right now, I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts, a lot of PFF guys, and they're saying there's a lot of really good linemen. And the Senior Bowl may solidify. They said it might break the record for the most linemen that get drafted in the first round. They think it could be 8 or 9 that possibly make it into the first round. So it's going to be exciting. The Senior Bowl is going to have a lot to tell with the draft.
Yeah, just stay tuned to the channel. We're gonna have prospect rankings and mock drafts coming out. I'm talking about the risers and fallers, and we're gonna stay really in tune with that stuff. So yeah, check us out, NFL Seekers. And with that, we'll get on to the recaps. And the first one will be the 3 seed Chiefs going into Baltimore, the 1 seed Baltimore Ravens, and beating them 17-10. And it's the same old story every single year for every year that Mahomes has been a starter in the NFL. He finds a way, and I hate to break this one to everyone, but this is the worst Chiefs team we're ever going to see Patrick Mahomes field ever again. This is by far the worst Chiefs team we will ever witness. You know for a fact they're going to go and get an alpha wide receiver 1 to pair with Rashee Rice this offseason. They're going to probably, I mean, Veach is just a brilliant GM. They're just going to keep coming with relentless, perfect moves because that's just what they are. It's depressing talking about it as someone that's not even involved or has any bias in this. It's just crazy. I gotta respect it though. Like I'm not gonna sit here and yap or cry about it. I have to respect the GOAT. But going on to the Ravens, like going into the actual game, what an interesting time of the season for the Ravens to just completely abandon the run game. A really good run team. You have this guy named Lamar Jackson. He's a good runner. And, I feel like if he would have ran the ball a few more times in this game, even though they were down in the second half, they were playing like they were down 30. Run the ball. They ran the ball 6 total times to Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. That is unacceptable. Lamar Jackson had 8 total carries. Every single carry was a first down. Run more. Every single
What's
throw.
Ravens football? What's Ravens football? That's the thing that just pisses me off so much. What are the Ravens known for? Who are the Ravens? They're not a
You're gonna
pass
like
first team.
you're gonna like this, but like it's ironic that they fire Greg Roman for running too much, and now they bring in Monken, and he just doesn't run the ball. It's just what are the Ravens gonna do now? It's not good. It's purgatory. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we're witnessing a dynasty. The Chiefs, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, they're able to almost play these mind games with these teams, and they commit to playing their style of football. And when it matters most, Patrick Mahomes is manipulating the game in a way that no one else can. It's this Tom Brady effect, and he is the best quarterback in the NFL. He is the best player since Tom Brady. You might be able to. I mean, at this point, you could honestly argue in his career that he's going to surpass Tom Brady. I mean, by far, he's a way better athlete. I think he's honestly might be the best football player ever. I think he's genuinely in that conversation of 6 straight AFC championships. He's going to is this his 4th Super Bowl, I believe,
Yeah.
and with a chance to win his 3rd ring. At 28 years old, it's something we've never seen. It's an absolute dynasty. He is the greatest football player on the planet. He might be the greatest football player ever. I really would go to say he's the greatest football player ever. I think he will surpass Tom Brady. He's incredible, and he manipulates the game to his style of football. And yeah, this is the worst team that the Chiefs will ever have. And honestly, their defense is no slouch. Their defense is a big reason, if not the biggest reason they won the game. But still, Patrick Mahomes manipulates the game. He does what he needs to do. He comes up big in big moments, and it's incredible. Him and Travis Kelce have a connection that's one of the best in NFL history, and it's just it's sad. Good for the Chiefs. We're witnessing the same thing we did. As me and you were kids in our younger age of just Tom Brady's absolute dominance. And now it's Patrick Mahomes' absolute dominance, and it's really cool to watch. But yeah, it feels like they're the bad guys, and the whole world wants to see them lose, and they go out here and they stun everyone. And this Ravens team, from a roster standpoint, from position to position, they are the better team. But the Chiefs manipulated the game. They had the better game plan. They went into it and they played their style of football. They got the Ravens uncomfortable. Lamar Jackson was uncomfortable. He wasn't playing his brand of football. So, yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. It really is. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, the Chiefs are just brilliant and they're going to be dominant for a long time. As long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback, I don't see anything changing.
Yeah, so going back to your best versus kind of greatest argument, the LeBron James versus Michael Jordan argument, it's Patrick Mahomes is by far the best quarterback that has ever graced the football field. By far, no one has physically ever been a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. No one has ever been able to do the things that he is with his arm, with his leg, with his mind, with the way he manipulates defenses, everything combined. He's by far the best quarterback to ever play this game. The greatest argument is where it gets tough because Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time in this current moment until proven otherwise. But Patrick Mahomes is far, far, far well ahead on pace to surpass him. So like if you have some foresight, if you have some nuance in this, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. So I'm totally fine with you saying he's the GOAT because just have some foresight. He's clear on track to surpass every single accolade that the GOAT Brady had. So it's crazy stuff we're witnessing. That's just I mean, there was no chance that they should have won this game. Let's be real. The Ravens were by far the best team in the NFL. They had the best defense DVOA wise we've seen since the 2015 Broncos. They've just been awesome. And Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce went out there and didn't care who they were going against. They were going against Kyle Hamilton, probably the best defensive player in the NFL, like just non-positional value, just defensive utility player. He's probably that dude. And Travis Kelce goes out there and has an absolute day. He goes 11 for 116 and a touchdown. And was just vintage Travis Kelce. I don't know if they injected him with all the HGH on earth before the playoffs or what, but it's crazy. This is just GOAT stuff, and this is what GOATs do. They come out in these times, and it's fun.
Yeah, they have their literally Travis Kelce probably his best game of the season when it mattered the most. And me and you, this is coming from honestly like me calling Mahomes the goat. There's no reason I would ever be biased because I hate him. I'm a Chargers fan. It pains me to watch him. I'm a football fan first and foremost, but I'm a big Chargers fan, and when we play the Chiefs, it pains me to watch Patrick Mahomes because you just know the outcome is coming. You know what's going to happen with Patrick Mahomes. There's no doubt. I mean, I don't think there's a game of Patrick Mahomes, even when he loses, it's ever been a blowout. I mean, this dude is just so incredibly talented, and it's so frustrating from another NFL from teams who aren't, from fans and people who aren't the Chiefs. He does magical stuff, and it's legendary, man. I'm just speechless. And like you said, the Ravens were by far the superior team. They were the better football team. They should have won this game, but it didn't matter because Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid were going to manipulate the game how they wanted to. Steve Spagnuolo, one of the most underrated coordinators, which I'm surprised he hasn't gotten much head coach buzz because what he's done with this Chiefs defense. I mean, Chiefs defense is the reason they made the playoffs. The offense was not clicking this year. Obviously, they clicked a little bit better in this game, but they got shut out in the second half. And you see Steve Spagnuolo's defense allowing 10 points. This dude should be a head coach. There's no reason he should be a defensive coordinator for the Chiefs next year. It's unfair and it's unfathomable what they're able to do.
Yeah, playoff Spags is inevitable. He's gonna scheme things up and keep these Chiefs right in it every single year. It's incredible. And yeah, we're Broncos and Chargers fans. We could sit here and cry and bitch that there's a dynasty, but at the end of the day, you just have to respect it. You have to stuff like this only comes around once in a while. We're watching the greatest of all time, like I said. So you kind of just have to enjoy it instead of just dwell on it. And yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy stuff that's happening, and you have to respect what they're doing because it's an improbable at this point.
All right, Dan. So there's a lot of controversy over with Ravens fans, especially versus the refs. They said it was Ravens versus the Chiefs and the refs. So what do you make that out to be? What do you think about the calls?
And so, like, if I'm being completely honest with that whole ref narrative and the bad call narrative, I was watching this game just like everyone else, full heartedly cheering for the Ravens every single play, and every penalty was a penalty to me. They showed the replays. I watched this whole game, and it was a penalty to me. Like there wasn't one penalty I can think back on that I was even really tweaking about. Like I know Ravens fans were, but I thought it was a fair called game. The Ravens made some dumb penalties. I will say that the Ravens made some undisciplined penalties in my opinion, but yeah, I don't really think they were out of line penalties to help Taylor Swift make the Super Bowl like the conspiracy theorists might say. But what do you say? Was there something that stood out to you, or?
I mean, since Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have been dating, Dan, I don't know if you knew this, but $335 million they estimate that Taylor Swift has brought in revenue to the NFL. So put that into perspective, $335 million of Swifties out there.
Well, you got to put to bed that one conspiracy theory with the Super Bowl logo, the colors on it because the Ravens lost. So you got to put away that conspiracy. So I guess people have
That's
a new one. But what if Purdy beats Taylor Swift? You never know.
it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. But honestly, when I go back to the penalties and everything, and when you're Patrick Mahomes, you're gonna get calls. It's the same thing with Tom Brady. When you have that level of respect, and they're good. It's just you earn that. You earn those calls. When you're Patrick Mahomes and you look at the ref, they're gonna give you that call. It's the same as Tom Brady had throughout his career. It's just that level of respect, and you earn it for being the best of the best. But yeah, the NFL conspiracy, back to that with the colors. That is sus. The one year that everyone starts calling it out, all of a sudden it's the Ravens don't make it. There's a conspiracy for everything. I'm on board with it all. I'm a conspiracy nut, and it makes me feel sus that the year that it gets called out is the year it doesn't happen, and the team that should have been in there. So it would have been the conspiracy would have been correct if the Ravens had won. So it's wild.
Before we move off this game too, I do want to go back to the original topic of like whose fault, who are you kind of blaming for this loss for the Ravens? I know that Zay Flowers is on the clickbait, and Zay Flowers is getting a lot of hate for his rookie mistakes to say the least. And it was that fumble was bad. It was bad and just stupid. And that penalty was stupid. And before the penalty, if he would have just kept running left instead of dancing and then moving inside to the right, he would have scored and not had to taunt and stand over Snead. So yeah, and the fact that Snead recovered the fumble or forced the fumble too, it's just all bad. But like at the same time, he had 5 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. He was their entire production on offense, and they wouldn't have had any points if Flowers wasn't playing because he was the only one getting them to the red zone. So it's hard to blame Flowers. He had rookie mistakes. You kind of have to expect that. Maybe you should bring in a better veteran receiver than Odell if you're going to plan on fully featuring your offense through your rookie receiver in the AFC Championship against Mahomes. So yeah, I think I'm personally blaming Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson for not running the ball, not committing to the run. It seems like they just pre-game they had a script that they just didn't want to run the ball, and they didn't go away from it, and it kind of lost in this game. If they would have just stayed with the run, they lost by 7. They played like they were losing by 35. Like it doesn't make sense, and I think that's kind of why they lost.
Yeah, no, I'm going to agree. I don't think it's Zay Flowers' fault at all. Zay Flowers electric. Obviously, it was a boneheaded fumble. He had a boneheaded penalty. I mean, it happened, but he was so electric in this game, and he was their offense in this game. And yeah, I'm going to ultimately blame Lamar Jackson, Todd Monken, and John Harbaugh. I think they got in their own heads. I think that the script was flawed from the beginning, and I don't think there was any adjustment to fix it. Going into the second half, there's no adjustment. Like you said, they played like they were down 35. You stick to what works. You stick to Raven brand of football. I don't care that you hired Todd Monken and got rid of Greg Roman. You run the damn football. You have the most electric quarterback in the NFL who almost every time he runs it, he gets a first down. He's electric. And there's no Willie Gay in this one. I know there's Nick Bolton and there's Drew Tranquil, but there's no Willie Gay. They're out their best linebacker, and you take advantage of that matchup. I feel like they were in so much of their heads trying to be like a step ahead of the Chiefs, so that they got in their own heads and their script was so bad. So it's ultimately, yeah, it is Lamar. It's on Lamar Jackson. 10 points is not good enough for an MVP. Now, I think CJ Stroud should be the MVP at this point. I genuinely think CJ Stroud or Mahomes, for what he does in the playoffs every single year, should probably be the MVP. But I think if you go from all this year and consistency of football, it should be CJ Stroud. And I think Lamar Jackson just got in his own head. I think Todd Monken did, and John Harbaugh, their game plan, their script was so flawed, and they couldn't get out of their heads. So yeah, I'm going to say it's their fault. It's all three of them. I'm going to go all three of those, the two coaches and Lamar Jackson.
I think maybe another conspiracy theory. I think Lamar Jackson was just trying to prove a point to Mahomes or something that he was playing like he was Joe Montana in this game. He was just sitting, he was looking to drop back and dump it off if anything, but he wasn't really looking to run. and especially in the fourth quarter, every time he ran, it was a first down. So I just like if you don't want to hand the ball off to Gus Edwards and Justice Hill because Keaton Mitchell's out, that's fine. But you have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, the best running quarterback of all time, the most electric athlete in NFL history. So just run that guy more. You only lost by 7 at home. It's kind of pathetic you didn't really try and give your team a chance, a little bit more of a chance. The Chiefs had 0 points in the second half because McDonald is a great defensive coordinator. He's leaving to the Seahawks now, so that's a little bit tough for the Ravens. You're gonna have to figure that out this offseason. And yeah, just tough loss, and you're gonna have to go back to the drawing board.
Are you calling your shot with Mike McDonald right now?
Yeah, he's a Seahawk. 100,000% confirmed.
He deserves the job. It's not his fault. I mean, he held the Chiefs in the playoffs to 17 points. That's in its own is a W. I mean, you'd have told me you held the Chiefs to 17 points, I would have said, and you didn't win. You held Mahomes to under 20 points and you didn't win. And then again, at the same time, I would have looked at it and I said, you let Lamar Jackson throw the ball 37 times. I would say, yeah, wow, the Chiefs manipulated you. Spags manipulated you. If you let Lamar Jackson throw the ball 37 times, that's not who Lamar Jackson is. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what they were trying to do. I don't know what the script was. I don't know what Todd Monken was doing. I don't know what John Harbaugh was honestly doing in this one. It's just like it doesn't make any sense. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's their fault. It's their fault they lost. Not Mike McDonald's, not the defenses, not the refs. You know, it's their fault. And yeah, what a ridiculous game and what an outcome that I didn't expect.
Yeah, and we'll stop yapping about this one. We'll get on to the next one. I do want to shout out Isaiah Pacheco because he's a badass, and I'm excited to watch him in the Super Bowl. He's just the most fun running back for me to watch in the NFL now, and I'm so excited for him. Like moving forward, I'm drafting him in like the 3rd round in fantasy every year. And one more question for you, or just kind of a statement, is I'm very excited. I'm sure you noticed watching this game. Drew Tranquill was all over everywhere, filling in for that Willie Gay role, and he is such a Denver Bronco, and I'm so excited. He's going to go from the Chargers to the Chiefs, and he's going to stay in the AFC West, and he's going to replace Josie Jewell and be a Bronco, and I just can't wait. He's falling into our lap because the Chiefs have so many good linebackers. I love it.
Oh, it's pain. It's pain. Drew Tranquill was one of my favorite Chargers for a while, and he was so underrated and so good in coverage and just all over the field and a difference maker. If you need a linebacker that can turn over the ball, get a sack, make a big difference play at any moment, Drew Tranquill is that guy. And he signs a 1-year, $3 million deal, which just as a Charger fan just broke my heart because we go out and sign 45-year-old Eric Kendricks, who's slower than a snail, and expect to be better. It's like, why not? We have a linebacker we could sign for half the price when we have salary cap issues, and we're like, you know what, we're gonna take the old aging guy, not the guy who's coming into his prime, who's an electric coverage linebacker, who's an electric blitzer. Yeah, and I mean, he stepped into that Willie Gay role perfectly. And Drew Tranquill, one of the most, I mean, special teams too. Drew Tranquill is one of the most underrated linebackers in all the NFL. And, you know, for my sake and for being a big Drew Tranquill fan, I hope that dude gets paid. He deserves a bag. He's too good of a linebacker to not be making top linebacker money.
One team's definitely going to get a good starting linebacker in this offseason, and they're just going to fall into their lap because the Chiefs have, you know, Bolton, Gay, Leo Chanel too. Like it's just crazy. So with that, we've been yapping about this one for a long time, but we'll go on to the next one. I'm even more excited to talk about this one. The Lions went into San Fran and lost to the 1 seed Niners 34-31. I said on this podcast not too long ago, we'll just get right into it. I said not too long ago that Dan Campbell being a little bit extra, and I said it after the Cowboys game in the regular season too, by the way. I just think I don't think I said that a few weeks ago, that their ultimate downfall will be just him being extra with the 4th down and him trying to prove a balls, whatever, a tough guy mentality to his team or whatever. But, you know, he was calling this game like he was playing against the Vikings in a week 10 regular season game. But this was against the San Francisco 49ers in San Fran to go to the Super Bowl, the Lions' first ever Super Bowl. And I mean, it's just terrible decisions to not kick those field goals, to go for it in that second half. That last one, especially, it's just inexcusable. It's terrible. The first one is what killed the momentum for them. It started the momentum for the Niners, and then like that's
24-7. And then yeah, that 4th and 2. Sorry to cut you off. I totally interrupted you. But yeah, you're 24-7. And I mean, given if it works, it works. It's fantastic. You look like a superhero. If it doesn't, you have to face the music, man. When it doesn't work, it's bad. I mean, and the play call was right. Everything worked out. I mean, Josh Reynolds, though, man. Some bad, bad drops. Some
it was an apology
bad
to all
drops.
of Detroit. He needs to write an apology note to every single person at Detroit.
We're gonna have like some Salem witch trials. Some like I don't know, bro. This is Josh Reynolds. He's looking to be hung in downtown Detroit. Wow, that is and Dan Campbell too. Both of them at the same time.
Yeah, I mean that first one just killed the momentum. It gave the Niners all the momentum, swung that game in the Niners' favor, and then yeah, that second one, it just kicked the field goal, and you have an insanely good chance of going to the Super Bowl. You just take the points in this game. Like I can't get over it.
Yeah, no, and yeah, it's so tough, and it's tough being the head coach because you're gonna have to, yeah, like I said, you're gonna have to face the music. But yeah, the first one, I mean, I understand the first one, but I mean, it really did. You got to think about it. It's really hard. It's really hard, and I understand from being a coach. You have this aggressive mentality. We're gonna bite your kneecaps. We're gonna do this, but it's like you're up 24-7. You kick a field goal, you go up another score. I understand this one. I did understand. It's like, okay, like I get it. You have been a decently good aggressive team. They drew up the right play call. Ben Johnson had a brilliant play call. Josh Reynolds was wide open, just flat out drops it. It was wide open. The play worked. But yeah, you go to that second one and you have a chance to, get the game within reason to still, it's just, oof, that second one was so bad. It was so bad. The play design wasn't there. Nothing worked out, but you get those points. That's when you need the points. You don't have the momentum. You need to swing the momentum back in your favor and just get those points. And yeah, once that happened, it was shocked. I mean, the 49ers really just soul sucked that momentum and took it for themselves. And yeah, wow, it was brutal for the Lions. And sorry, yeah, it's a lot of yip yapping. It's a lot of feelings. It's a lot of emotions in this podcast right now. We might sound like we're going in circles, but I mean, man, it's painful. And it's like whatever team I want to win never wins. So I'm clearly the curse. I'm clearly the curse.
Yeah, and I mean, just kind of talking through this game, like the way it went, the Lions started this game off with a vengeance, and David Montgomery by himself was carrying the whole Lions team, and he was just pounding through this 49ers, this good 49ers run defense, and it was impressive to watch. And then it seemed like that second half that there was just a wall, like that they couldn't run the ball. The Niners defensive line was a wall in that second half, and that really, started the downfall. That Jahmyr Gibbs fumble was it was just a bad fumble, and it was just a good play by the Niners, who, the Niners have a lot of stars that make those plays, and you can't really let a team like the Niners hang around because, like you see, you blink an eye and they have 30 points hung up on the board in a second. So it's just look, can we go over to Purdy? Can we just talk about Purdy, because that was a performance that was an inspirational performance, really. Like, everyone is calling him whatever, a game manager, system quarterback, whatever you want. You can't even watch this game and still say that anymore. Like, I still see a lot of people saying it, and it's so crazy to me. If you just watch this football game, he was running for his life every single play. He was more comfortable running the football than Lamar Jackson was. Like, I'm not saying that as a joke. He was more confident moving around, making a play with his legs, buying time in the pocket, looking downfield than Lamar Jackson was. Like, he was playing some great football. He was making Mahomes throws. He was running to his left, throwing it up to his Juwan Jennings over the middle. It was the same throw that Mahomes made to Kelsey in the same game. So it's just, Purdy was dealing. Like, he's a top 14 quarterback in this league, and if you want to say otherwise, you're wrong. It's crazy how good he is. You could say it's a system, but he's going to be in the system probably for the rest of his career because of how good he is. So, like, it's just he's inspirational to me. He's good. I might sound like I'm a Purdy rider or whatever, but I don't see the hate. I think the hate has gone way too far. I still see hate after this masterclass performance that he was dealing. His arm got tipped. He made a bad decision on that Malcolm Rodriguez pick. That was a terrible decision. His arm did get picked. Knowing him, that probably would have been an accurate pass over the middle that would have got caught because he does that. So I don't know. Just I respect the hell out of Purdy. What did you think?
Dude, Purdy's like a freaking junkyard dog, bro. He's scrappy. Purdy, I don't, Purdy's got this mentality, bro, where, and it's maybe built in this 49ers culture and everything, but it's like, the game's never over until it's over. And Purdy was a dog, dude. I mean, like, yeah, I can't give him enough praise because it was scrappy. It was a scrappy game from Purdy, and just hanging in there and ultimately pulling off this comeback. Uh, just junkyard dog, bro. Just a freaking dog. Like, I don't know if I'm reminiscent of that freaking meme forever go on Instagram where it's like, Dodie Devon, dog. Freaking Danny Aker, dog. That's freaking Brock Purdy, freaking dog, bro. He is a dog, and people hate him. I mean, he gets a lot of hate from the media and stuff, but you can't take, he's just scrappy, man. He hangs in there. He's gonna make the throw. He's very accurate. What he did with his legs was phenomenal. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the San Francisco 49ers, probably roster wise, are the better team over the Lions. And they were more resilient, and they have, I mean, just Kyle Shanahan's not going to make the same mistakes as Dan Campbell. He's not in his head. It's like, if something doesn't work, we're going to shift. If I do something wrong, if my identity is this and it's not working, I'm going to change it. And yeah, like you did say this in a podcast a couple weeks ago. You said Dan Campbell's going to be his own kryptonite. He's going to get in his way. He's going to be so in his ways where it's going to lose him the game, and it ultimately did. And what they had going in the first quarter was brilliant. Their run game was flawless. I mean, Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery were electric, and it was just they're beating the piss out of the 49ers. But yeah, they get in their own heads. The 49ers don't. They have a coach that's very sharp, that knows how to adjust and how to steal the momentum. And yeah, Brock Purdy, dog.
Yeah, we know all about all these stars on this 49ers offense. Debo, McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk, you've heard about them all, but Purdy won this game. He set the tone. He started the momentum that second half. When they started the momentum, it was Purdy and McCaffrey. It was Purdy throwing to McCaffrey breaking tackles. By the way, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson can't tackle. It was either, give it to McCaffrey or Debo and just let Chauncey Gardner-Johnson miss a tackle. That's kind of how this game went. That guy and Cam Sutton, their number one corner, just missing tackles. That Lions defense is not very physical, and they act like they're a very physical secondary that likes to get up there and in your face and stop the run, but they're just bad tacklers, and that was really the reason they kind of lost this game and let them come back, because the Niners offense was just completely just rolling in that second half, and they had way too much momentum. Purdy was making, pressured throw after pressured throw, moving around, running for his life, finding his receivers downfield, making a good run. So he had 48 rushing yards in this. I'm just seeing this. He had 48 rushing yards. Like, he just had a great game. Debo Samuel, shout out to Debo for setting a tone. It seemed like he took at least like 2 broken tackles every time he touched the ball. McCaffrey in that second half really set the tone and kind of won them this game. So yeah, you do really like to see the kind of the cream rise to the top. The stars really showed out when the Lions gave them an ounce of opportunity, and they took it and ran with it, didn't look back. And the Lions are going to be thinking about this one for a long, long time. Even Dan Campbell himself said, "I don't know when we're going to be back here." That's a little depressing.
That was brutal. I saw that interview, bro, and you could just see the defeat and the failure in their souls, and they just know that the Super Bowl was just right here. I mean, it was right here in front of their face, and Brock Purdy just said, dog. Brock Purdy, dog. Christian McCaffrey, dog. Debo Samuel, dog. Brandon Ayuk, dog. Nick Bosa, dog.
Fred Warner.
That's all I gotta say.
Fred Warner. Charvarius Ward.
Dog. Yeah, this team, Kyle Shanahan, dog. I mean, it's sad. It really is sad. It would have been fun to see, just magical Detroit thing. But I mean, Dan Campbell, he has to face the music, man. I mean, when it works, you're brilliant. When it doesn't, it sucks. I mean, I get it. I get it. You want to be aggressive. I get it. I can't say that I probably would. I don't know if I would do the same if I was the head coach in this position. And yeah, I've been Johnson's offensive coordinator, and we're this fourth down team. And I mean, it gives me reminiscences of the 2021 Chargers when Brandon Staley was hired. And And they didn't trust their special teams to do anything. And so they're like, you know what? Every fourth down, we're going for it. PATs, we're not going for PATs. We're going for 2 point because we don't even know if our kicker can make it. So the Chargers really were kind of the ones that originally started this fourth down trend back in 2021, and it worked a lot. And Brandon Staley really kept to his guns. And it's kind of the way Dan Campbell is, but then it just gets in their head and it becomes this identity and this trend. And then they start being overly aggressive. I mean, like when Dan Campbell did against the Cowboys on 4th and 8 or whatever, when that was that 2-point conversion to win the game, they got backed up like 10 yards and he went for like 3 times. I don't know. And you called it. You said that's going to be the demise of the Lions season. And it ultimately was. It ultimately was. Sadly, that's how the Lions season comes and goes. It was exciting. It was fun. It was brilliant. And then when it didn't work, you missed the Super Bowl, which sucks.
And I'm 100% positive any Lions fans that were listening to this are definitely gone by now. I'm sorry. It's depressing stuff. But I do have 2 positive notes here for the Lions. You did see a live passing of the torch of best Iowa tight end, just really best like top 3 tight end from George Kittle to Sam Laporta in this one. You saw Kyle Juszczyk outproduce George Kittle as a tight end, and you saw Sam Laporta just insanely featured in this Lions offense like he is every game. He's playing injured, and he had 13 targets, 9 catches, and 97 yards, and it seemed like he was the source of every first down for the Lions. He was really, they ran their offense through him in the passing game. So yeah, you are so optimistic about Laporta moving forward, and this isn't really, I guess, a Lions plus, but Ben Johnson is truly a cheat code as a play caller. Like it doesn't stop. It's perfect play call after perfect play call. He's out calling, like he was out calling Shanahan that first half. Like it was just he's definitely probably a top 3 play caller in the NFL. And the Commanders, you're lucky, man. Commanders or Seahawks, you're lucky.
I'll give the Lions one more, man. Jahmyr Gibbs did have a fumble, brutal, but Jahmyr Gibbs, man, that might be one of the most electric offensive weapons in all of football. This dude from a running back, from a pass catching standpoint, is awesome. And I'm already getting way ahead of myself, but from a fantasy aspect, man, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go high, and I am excited. Jahmyr Gibbs for fantasy in 2024. I think I'm gonna call my hot take early. But I think Jahmyr Gibbs should be a top 5 pick in fantasy football going forward. I'm going to stick to my guns all offseason. This dude is special. He's different. He's young. And I think he's only going to get better next year.
Yeah, I mean, every time he touched the ball, you were either left saying, how did he get that first down or how did he get that touchdown? Like every time he touches the ball, it's like an improbable outcome. He's just electric. And yeah, the Lions, they did hit that draft out of the park. Brian Branch is a stud. Jack Campbell, questionable pick. That was a tough pick considering how much they're going to play. Barnes, Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, and then Campbell's the 4th guy. So that was a very questionable one. But other than that, those 3, you can't really complain. That's 3 cornerstone pieces. And you can't be too mad. Losing Ben Johnson's going to suck. You're going to have to find a really good offensive mind to somehow replace that. I don't know if anyone could ever replace a Ben Johnson. He's going to ball out with Drake May and probably start a dynasty. So yeah, just a little bit depressing. A little bit depressing for the Lions.
Sorry, Lions fans, but I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, man, you see his cuts, they're different. They are different. They are on a different level. When that dude gets the ball and he make a cut, it's like ankles are turned around, knees are backwards. He's electric. Sam Laporta is awesome. Brian, I mean, yeah, they knocked the draft out of the freaking park. They are a really good football team. Obviously, it sucks 10 times worse when you lose in the playoffs. It does. For me, being a Chargers fan, it sucks not making the playoffs. But when you lose in the playoffs and you lose in a game like this where you should have won, it really takes a lot out of you. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Lions bounce back. I didn't love the motivational speeches from Dan Campbell. We might not ever be back. We might have just blew our one shot. I don't know if I love saying that right in a press conference right after. But yeah, you're feeling down. Yeah, it does. It losing the playoffs, losing this game, it hurt 10 million times worse than a normal loss. It was brutal. It's painful. I genuinely, as a Chargers fan, and how we lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I feel that pain. There is a brighter spot to move forward. There's always something to get forward. Think about the draft, Lions fans. It's gonna get better. So you're this close, but there's always next year.
Yeah, stay tuned to the NFL Seekers draft content if your guys' teams are eliminated. So everyone but the two teams left, stay tuned to our draft content. And yeah, let's get into your exit hot take. Do you have any exit Super Bowl, early Super Bowl predictions? Any exit Super Bowl hot takes? What are you thinking early on in the Super Bowl? The 49ers opened as like 3.5 point favorites, and now it's down to like one. And I'm kind of thinking you just make the Chiefs like 14 point favorites because they're the Chiefs at this point.
Isaiah Pacheco, 200 rushing yards. You saw what he did last Super Bowl. This guy is mean. He's gonna run his absolute pants off. 200 is very bold. You know what I mean? I think you could lock Isaiah Pacheco in for a 100-yard game. I really do. And given how the Lions were able to run against the 49ers in the first half, I think the Chiefs are gonna see that and expose their weaknesses. But that'll be an exit hot take. Isaiah Pacheco is gonna be a madman in the Super Bowl.
Well, we need like a score prediction. Who do you think's gonna win? I do you have like any like I mean it's hard to predict. I can't tell you who I think's gonna win right now, but like do you have
I don't
any
know. Should I
feeling?
save that for our preview when we do it, or should I
Well,
just
it could
out a
change. A
number?
lot could change. This is gonna be an insanely close matchup. Like, do you just have like an initial gut feeling? Just a
As of right now, I picked against the Chiefs every single week. I picked the Dolphins to beat the Chiefs. I picked against them every week. So saying that, I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs right now. I feel like the Chiefs will, as my gut feeling, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they'll lose. Whoever I've wanted and thought would win, it's ultimately been the opposite. So just go with whatever I don't say. But maybe give me the Chiefs by. I'll it's going to be a high scoring game. 36-28 Chiefs. It's going to be crazy.
That'd be
I want to
electric.
see some touchdowns in the Super Bowl. 36-28, throw it out there.
So just take the overs on every single underdog line you can. Stores is out here with the hot takes. He's trying to reverse jinx the Chiefs now, finally, and we'll see if it works. I'm kind
I'll
of starting.
expose my secrets.
I'm kind of starting to feel the same way though, man. Like I'm not gonna. I don't want to pick against the Chiefs, but I also the Niners team is so fun. I'm loving what Purdy's doing. I'm really excited for it. So yeah, stay tuned to the NFL Seekers podcast. We have a lot of draft content coming out. We're really kind of researching these prospects right now, getting into the nitty gritty of draft content, and so we're really excited about it. Check out the NFL Seekers podcast on all platforms. Like, comment, subscribe. Anything else you want to say?
Go Brock Purdy, dog. Beat Mahomes. Beat Mahomes, please. Please. Do it for the Seekers. Do it for the Seekers, Purdy.
Enough said. Peace.
Peace.